Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine trying to get a handle on, well, everything happening in Nigeria right now, and maybe a few key global events too.
Huh?
All from today's headlines. That's April 14th, 2025. That's kind of our mission for this deep dive.
Right.
Not just seeing what's making news, but, trying to understand why it might matter to you, the learner.
And what nuggets are hiding in there?
Exactly. And unearthing some surprising details that maybe get overlooked.
Yeah.
We've got a good stack of Nigerian newspaper front pages here,
Okay.
plus a couple of those "Did you know?" facts. Always good for a bit of a mental stretch.
Always fun, those.
So let's just jump straight in, shall we? See what stands out.
Yeah, sounds good. And what's immediately clear is just the sheer scope of issues demanding attention.
That's a lot.
It really underscores how interwoven everything is, The economy affects education, security impacts politics, so on, and how global events can cast a long shadow. We're seeing reminders of past heartbreaks alongside some, advancements too.
Definitely. Let's start with one of those reminders. A story that, wow, even 11 years later, still resonates so deeply. The Chibok girls.
A powerful one.
There's a photo exhibition in the UK. It's brought leaders, organizations like the UN, the Malala Fund, all focusing back on this tragedy. It's really quite something that continues to get international attention, isn't it?
Yeah.
What deeper significance do you draw from that ongoing focus?
Well, it's fascinating, I think, this sustained international attention, even after, more than a decade.
Yeah.
It arguably reflects a kind of growing global awareness, a sense of responsibility, maybe, to protect civilians in conflict.
Right.
And to hold non-state actors accountable for human rights abuses. It feels like a subtle but important shift in international norms. This idea that atrocities like that can't just fade away from the global consciousness.
That makes sense. Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Moving to energy and the economy.
Yeah.
We see a Nigerian company, the Walcott Group, has secured some oil blocks in Angola. That sounds like a definite win for Nigerian business on the international stage.
Absolutely. A positive step outwards.
But then, closer to home, we have the National Education Loan Fund, NLFND.
The student loan body, yeah.
Right. They're reporting that institutions and banks are, holding back on releasing those loan funds.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That could create some serious roadblocks for students trying to access higher education, couldn't it?
It certainly could. I mean, if these financial institutions are reluctant to disperse the loans, it directly impacts access. Simple as that. And it could have a knock-on effect on social mobility, developing the future workforce.
Big picture stuff.
Yeah. And this hesitancy, it raises an important question for you, the learner. Could this point to some kind of fundamental mismatch?
A mismatch. How so?
Well, between the design of the loan program itself and maybe the practical realities of Nigeria's financial system.
Oh, okay.
Perhaps the terms aren't attractive enough for the lenders, or maybe there are bureaucratic hurdles just slowing everything down.
That's a really interesting angle.
Yeah.
And adding to this whole economic picture, Nigeria's crude oil output has apparently dropped again.
Not ideal.
And this is amidst a global price downturn. So how do you see these two, seemingly separate stories, energy, finance, oil output, connecting?
Well, if you connect the dots,
Yeah.
a decrease in oil production coupled with lower global prices,
Yeah.
it inevitably puts a strain on national revenue, doesn't it? Given Nigeria's continued reliance on oil exports.
Still heavily reliant. Yeah.
So this belt tightening at the national level could then indirectly affect the money available for social programs like NELFND.
Creating this sort of double whammy.
Exactly. It's a stark reminder of how vulnerable economies can be when they're heavily dependent on just one commodity,
Yep.
Sensitive to those global market swings.
Right. Okay, let's pivot to the education sector itself. Amizia State, they're planning a pretty significant hiring spree.
Oh.
4,000 new teachers. That's the reason. A surge in public school enrollment.
Wow, 4,000.
Yeah. On the surface, that sounds like a positive response to growing demand, right?
Definitely positive.
But what underlying factors might explain this increase in public school numbers, do you think?
Well, the rise in public school enrollment in Abia, it could signal a few things. Maybe there's been an improvement in the quality of public education there.
Making it more attractive?
Exactly, making it a more appealing option for parents. Or it could also reflect broader economic pressures.
People cutting costs.
Yeah, leading more families to choose public over private schooling just to manage costs. But whatever the reason, the proactive hiring is crucial.
To keep quality up.
Right. to ensure this increased demand doesn't lead to, overcrowded classrooms and a decline in educational quality. That ultimately affects you as a future participant in the workforce.
It's a stark contrast then, isn't it, with the news coming out of Lagos State?
What's happening there?
A university has fired 3 lecturers following allegations of sexual harassment.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It really highlights that even with positive developments, like the hiring in ABIA, there are still these serious systemic issues being addressed elsewhere.
Exactly. While the hiring suggests progress in, let's say, access, the dismissals in Lagos underscore that ongoing need to ensure safety, ethical conduct within these institutions.
Yeah.
The fact they are being addressed, though, hopefully signals a growing commitment, creating more secure learning environments.
Hopefully.
But the fact it keeps happening also suggests that, well, prevention and robust reporting mechanisms are still absolutely vital.
And just adding another layer to this student loan situation, the National Orientation Agency, the NOA, they're now claiming that the tertiary institutions themselves are shortchanging students on these loan disbursements.
Wait, the universities are holding back the money?
That's the allegation. It's pretty serious. Accusations of internal issues.
That is a very serious allegation. If educational institutions are indeed withholding portions of the loan funds meant for students, it would completely undermine the whole purpose of the program, wouldn't it?
Totally.
The NOA's claim definitely needs a thorough investigation. We need accountability, need to ensure students get the full support they're entitled to.
Absolutely.
This kind of alleged mismanagement just erodes trust in the system, and it directly harms the intended beneficiaries, individuals like you pursuing higher education.
Right. Now, let's wade into the often complex world of Nigerian politics, specifically around Rivers State.
Okay, Rivers State. Always lively.
Seems so. The House of Representatives has formed a committee to look into potential emergency rule there.
Emergency rule. That's a big step.
It is. And the Attorney General is in court defending President Tinubu's actions related to this.
Okay, so the federal government is backing intervention.
While at the same time, a former member of the House is challenging these emergency rule efforts in court.
So pushback from another angle.
Exactly. And all of this is unfolding against a backdrop of alleged destruction of political billboards, heightened political tensions. You get the picture.
Yeah, sounds tense.
What different viewpoints are likely at play here? It seems quite polarized.
Well, you're seeing a clear clash of perspectives, aren't you? Those advocating for federal intervention, like the House committee, they likely believe the situation in Rivers has become so volatile it threatens public order, requires extraordinary measures, emergency rule, perhaps.
Okay.
Conversely, those challenging it, the ex-reps member, for instance, they're probably arguing for the sanctity of democratic processes, state government autonomy.
Don't overreach.
Exactly. Warning against what they might see as an overreach of federal power.
And the AG's involvement.
That indicates the federal government believes its actions are legally justified. Necessary, they'd argue, to maintain stability. The damaged billboards just underscore the intensity on the ground.
Got it. And adding another layer to that political narrative, the presidency has actually disowned some 2027 campaign billboards featuring President Tinubu.
Oh, interesting. That early.
Yeah, it's quite a way off the next election. An interesting move, right?
It is intriguing. Publicly distancing the president from campaign activities this early, it could be strategic.
How so?
Maybe to project an image of focusing purely on current governance responsibilities. We're governing, not campaigning.
Right.
It might also be a way to control the early narrative around potential re-election efforts, avoid the perception of premature campaigning when there are, well, pressing national issues.
Makes sense. Okay, shifting focus again, this time to security. The situation in Borno State sounds incredibly dire.
Yes, sadly familiar territory.
Senator Doom has reported a significant resurgence of Boko Haram. The numbers are staggering. 300 deaths and 252 attacks.
That's just devastating. A horrific statistic.
Deeply troubling. Now, how does this stark reality contrast with the Army's reported concern over low enlistment of young people from the southeast region?
It's a stark contrast indeed. And it points to very different security realities across the country, doesn't it?
It seems so.
The tragedy in Borno underscores the persistent, devastating impact of the insurgency in the northeast. That's one reality. The low enlistment in the southeast, though, that could be linked to a whole complex mix of factors. Yeah. Regional grievances, maybe, perceptions of the military.
Different priorities for young people there.
Perhaps. Differing priorities among youth in that part of the country. It just highlights the need for nuanced approaches to national security. You have to take diverse regional contexts into account.
Right, not a one-size-fits-all situation.
Definitely not.
Okay, on what appears, at least on the surface, to be a more positive note, development-wise.
Okay.
President Tinubu has launched the reconstruction of the Abuja-Kaduna-Kano Road. Big project. Significant funding, allocated reportedly 777 billion naira.
Wow, that's a major investment.
And Minister Keyamo has announced a new direct flight route to Tanzania.
Okay, expanding connections.
These seem like tangible steps, right, towards improving infrastructure, international connections.
They certainly are developments with potential for positive impact, yes. Investing in critical infrastructure like that road, it's vital for facilitating trade, transport, overall economic growth within Nigeria. And similarly, a direct flight to Tanzania can strengthen ties business, diplomatic with East Africa, foster interconnectedness.
Huh. There's always a but, isn't there?
Often is. The key, as you, the learner, know, will be in the execution.
Right. Effective, transparent execution.
Exactly. To ensure these initiatives actually deliver the intended benefits on the ground.
That's a crucial point, especially when we see other news, like a $700 million project for ports rehabilitation, reportedly facing delays.
Ah, yes. That underscores the point. Infrastructure progress isn't always a straight line.
No.
Delays in big projects like port rehab, they can have wide-ranging negative consequences.
Right.
Trade efficiency, supply chains, the economy's competitiveness.
Knock-on effects again.
Exactly. It just highlights the complexities involved in these massive undertakings, the importance of really robust planning and project management.
Okay, turning to social issues now. The National Association of Nigerian Students, NANENS.
The student body again.
They're threatening protests over a proposed bill. This bill could apparently lead to jail time for people who don't vote.
Jail time for not voting. Wow.
Yeah. That raises some really fundamental questions, doesn't it? About civic duty versus individual rights in a democracy.
It absolutely does. Mandating voting through the threat of imprisonment, that's a highly debated concept globally.
Not bad.
Proponents might argue it's a way to boost civic engagement, ensure a more representative electorate, maybe?
Okay, I can see that argument.
But those opposing it will likely raise serious concerns about individual liberties, the freedom not to participate.
The right to abstain.
Precisely. It's a discussion that touches the very core of democratic principles, the relationship between the citizen and the state.
Definitely something to think about. And on a completely different note within the social sphere, the musician Portable.
Ah, Portable.
Reportedly arrested for alleged defamation by fellow Fuji artist Osupa.
Okay, clash of artists.
It's just a reminder, I suppose, of how public figures navigate their interactions and the potential legal ramifications of what they say or may be saying.
Yeah, it's a pertinent reminder, especially in the age of social media, right? Online speech, even for public figures, carries responsibility.
Potential legal consequences.
Exactly. Highlights the importance of considering the impact of your words, your actions in the public domain.
Right. Now, let's look at some headlines touching on the broader economy and business. Guinea
Okay, West Africa?
is apparently inviting Nigerian businesses to participate in some major development projects. That could signal some significant international investment opportunities, couldn't it?
It could, yeah. A positive signal.
And back in Nigeria, the federal government says it's added 700 megawatts to the national power grid,
More power, always needed.
aiming to alleviate those persistent power outages. Plus, there's a national audit of assets underway, potentially to unlock considerable value. These all sound like steps in a generally positive direction.
These developments, yeah, they generally point towards potential economic growth, maybe some stability. Guinea's invitation. It shows recognition of Nigerian business capabilities on the continent.
Right.
Efforts to strengthen the power grid are, well, crucial. Reliable electricity is fundamental for economic activity.
An absolutely basic requirement.
And a comprehensive audit of national assets.
Yeah, that could indeed identify underutilized resources, things that could be better leveraged for the country's benefit.
Okay. But then we also see that the generation companies, the GenCos, the power producers, they're getting a reduction in the price of gas, which is a key input for them. That sounds helpful.
It should be helpful, yes. Lower input costs.
However, this comes amidst a substantial debt burden for these companies, reportedly around 2 trillion naira.
2 trillion, wow, that's huge.
Yeah. That sounds like a bit of a precarious balancing act, doesn't it?
It is a complex situation. Lowering gas prices might provide some financial relief for the GenCos.
Short-term relief. But that massive outstanding debt remains a major challenge, threatens the long-term sustainability, the operational efficiency of the whole power sector.
Yeah.
It just underscores that intricate relationship between fuel costs, debt management, and actually getting reliable power generation. It's all connected.
It really is.
Yeah.
And there are efforts apparently being made to tackle corruption. The Bureau of Public Procurement, the BPP.
Okay, the procurement watchdog.
They intend to sanction procurement officers involved in inflating project costs.
Ah, accountability. Good.
That seems like a welcome move towards greater accountability in government spending, right?
Oh, definitely. Measures that hold individuals accountable for inflating project costs. They're essential. Essential for combating corruption, ensuring public funds are used judiciously.
For their intended purpose.
Exactly. It signals a commitment to fiscal responsibility, transparency. Crucial for building public trust.
Right. Circling back to investment for a second.
Yeah.
The head of the Nigerians and Diaspora Commission at IDCOM
Okay, engaging the diaspora.
is reassuring Nigerians living abroad that the country is an attractive place for investment.
Now, given some of the economic and security headlines we've just discussed, how should we interpret that assurance? Is it optimism or?
Well, look, Nigeria undoubtedly holds significant investment potential across various sectors, huge potential.
Okay.
But the assurance from NIDCOM, it needs to be considered alongside the realities, right? The current economic and security landscape we've been talking about.
So temper the optimism with reality.
Pretty much. Attracting diaspora investment requires more than just highlighting opportunities. It means actively addressing challenges, infrastructure, security, bureaucratic processes to create a truly conducive environment for investors.
Makes sense. Moving on to technology and accessibility. Seems some government processes are becoming more streamlined. Good news, maybe.
Let's hear it.
The Immigration Service is expanding contactless passport renewal, adding more countries like the U.S. and Mexico. Should make international travel easier for Nigerians there.
That's a practical improvement. Definitely welcome. And the Code of Conduct Bureau, the CCB, has launched an online system for asset declaration, aiming for greater transparency among public officials.
Okay, leveraging tech. These are positive steps, yeah. Using technology to improve public service delivery, enhance accountability.
How so?
Well, contactless passport renewal significantly simplifies the process for citizens, saves time, hassle,
Right.
and an online asset declaration system that can make it easier to monitor the financial holdings of public officers, potentially deterring corruption, easier access, easier scrutiny.
Got it. Lagos State is also starting to link its social welfare register with the national identity number, the NIN.
Ah, integration. That's key.
Sounds like a move towards creating a more unified, reliable system for social support and identification.
Absolutely. Integrating social registers with the NIN is a crucial step towards building a comprehensive national identity management system.
What are the benefits?
It can improve the efficiency and targeting of social welfare programs, making sure help gets to the right people, reduces fraud, and provides a more accurate basis for planning, resource allocation across various sectors, data-driven decisions.
Okay, big potential there. Let's touch briefly on arts and culture. The Anti-Tinubu song by Idris Abdul Karim
Yes, heard about that.
is reportedly gaining traction. While separately, Nobel laureate Wole Soyinka has voiced criticism of the National Broadcasting Commission, the NBC.
Soyinka weighing in.
It just seems the intersection of music, politics, freedom of expression. It remains a very vibrant and sometimes contentious part of Nigerian society.
It really highlights the enduring power of artistic expression, doesn't it? Particularly music as a medium for social and political commentary.
Definitely.
And Soyinka's criticism of the NBC that just underscores the ongoing dialogue and, yeah, occasional tension between artistic freedom and regulatory oversight in the media landscape. It's a constant negotiation.
Indeed. In the realm of sports now, but unfortunately it's a disturbing report. A fan apparently stabbed a player from Plateau United after a football match.
Oh, that's terrible. Violence at a game.
Yeah. It's a really worrying indication of potential issues with fan behavior, security at sporting events.
Such incidents are deeply concerning. They underscore the need for robust security measures, absolutely.
And maybe more focus on sportsmanship.
And a focus on promoting sportsmanship, responsible fan behavior at all levels, the safety of athletes, spectators. That has to be the top priority for sporting organizations. No question.
Agreed. Tragically, the news also contains several reports of accidents and incidents. Really sad stories.
Oh, dear.
A student at Akwa Ibom Polytechnic died during karate training. An OEU student was electrocuted. A building collapsed in Lagos.
Oh, no.
And a victim from that earlier CCTV shop explosion has now passed away. It just highlights various safety vulnerabilities in different environments, doesn't it?
These are indeed tragic occurrences, each one a terrible loss. They underscore the critical importance of adhering to safety protocols, regulations, everywhere. Educational institutions, workplaces, construction sites, public spaces. Thorough investigations are essential. Understand the causes, prevent future tragedies. We have to learn from these.
Absolutely. We also have a report of a mosque being set on fire in Zamfara, described as a reprisal attack.
Oh, that's deeply worrying. Intercommunal tensions.
Seems like it. And allegations that land grabbers have demolished over 100 homes in Ikorodu, leaving many residents without shelter.
Lands grabbing, too. These speak to ongoing, deep-seated issues, don't they?
Yes, these incidents highlight persistent challenges, intercommunal relations, land ownership disputes, particularly in certain parts of the country.
Complex problems.
Very. Addressing them requires a combination of things. Effective law enforcement, sure, but also community engagement, fair dispute resolution mechanisms to ensure peace and justice for everyone involved. Right. On the local governance front now, the Lagos State Attorney General and some officials are reportedly facing contempt proceedings related to a kingship dispute.
Kingship disputes.
Always
Complex.
And there's a potential border dispute brewing between Osun and Oyo states. Plus, the Oluwo of Iwo has apparently raised some kind of alarm. It just seems local governance can be just as intricate, just as challenging as national affairs.
Oh, absolutely. Local governance often involves these deeply rooted historical factors, cultural nuances, administrative tangles.
Yeah.
Issues like kingship succession, border demarcations, they can be particularly sensitive. They require careful, impartial, legally sound resolutions to prevent further conflict and just maintain the rule of law at that local level.
Okay. Finally, before we move to the global stage,
Yeah.
let's touch on another aspect of governance, corruption and accountability again.
All right.
Beyond the BPP's efforts we mentioned, the non-academic staff union, NASU.
Another university union.
Right. They're claiming a secret agreement exists between the federal government and ASU, the academic staff union.
Okay. Regarding what?
Regarding a significant amount of outstanding university-earned allowances. And NASU is threatening another strike over this alleged secret deal.
Ah, the earned allowances issue again, that feels like.
Deja vu.
Exactly. Unfortunately, this has been a recurring source of tension, disruption in Nigeria's tertiary education system for years.
It really impacts students.
Massively. NASA's allegations of a secret deal, if true, or even if perceived to be true, could just exacerbate these tensions if it's not handled transparently, inclusively.
Leading to more strikes.
Potentially, yes. Further strikes impacting students' academic pursuits, something that directly affects you, the learner, and countless others trying to get through higher education.
Is a persistent challenge. Okay, let's take a quick look now at some key global headlines.
Right, broadening the lens.
In Ukraine. Tragically, a devastating Russian strike reportedly killed many civilians on Palm Sunday,
Oh, terrible news.
prompting President Zelensky to urgently call for more robust global action. It's just a stark, tragic reminder of the ongoing human cost of that conflict.
The continued loss of innocent lives in Ukraine is, deeply regrettable. It underscores the urgent need for a diplomatic resolution
If one is possible.
and President Zelensky's appeal for greater international involvement. It reflects a global community's responsibility, doesn't it, to uphold international law, work towards peace somehow.
On the international trade front, former U.S. President Trump is warning that no country is ultimately off the hook when it comes to potential tariffs.
Ah, trade wars talk again.
Even despite some temporary reprieves. That suggests a degree of uncertainty, doesn't it? Potential future shifts in global trade policy.
It definitely injects uncertainty, yes.
And interestingly, we also see that President Tinubu and a U.S. delegation have been discussing a potential trade pact and tariff reforms.
Okay, Nigeria engaging directly.
So how might these broader international trade dynamics, Trump's comments, U.S.-Nigeria talks, intersect with Nigeria's economic interests?
Well, Trump's remarks suggest the global trade environment could become more protectionist. Again, which could have implications for international trade flows, agreements, everything. So Nigeria's engagement with the U.S. on trade and tariffs becomes strategically important.
To navigate the uncertainty.
Exactly. To position the country to navigate these potential shifts, secure favorable trading relationships that support its own economic growth, and, crucially, diversification efforts.
Got it. Lastly, on the global scam, in Brazil, former President Bolsonaro has undergone surgery.
Oh, What for?
Due to complications arising from the statting he endured way back in 2018.
Wow, still affecting him years later.
Yeah. It just serves as a sobering reminder, I suppose, of the enduring, sometimes very long-lasting consequences of political violence, even on individuals.
It really is a stark reminder. Acts of political violence can have profound, lasting impacts, not just on the immediate victim, but on the broader political and social landscape of a whole nation.
True. Okay, now for our Did You Know segment. Always enjoy this bit.
Me too. What do we got?
First up, this is truly incredible. A message in a bottle. Cast adrift from a German ship way back in 1886.
1886.
Seriously?
Seriously. And it was discovered on a beach in Western Australia in 2018. That's a journey of 132 years.
132 years in a bottle. That's
Yeah.
mind-blowing.
Isn't it? What does a story like that make you think about? Time, chance, interconnectedness.
Well, what's truly astonishing is just the sheer unlikelihood of it, right?
It has a silly, minuscule chance.
It speaks to the power of ocean currents over these vast stretches of time and the remarkable persistence of just a simple object, a glass bottle.
Yeah.
On a more, maybe philosophical level,
Mm.
it hints at a kind of accidental connection across generations, across continents, a reminder that even seemingly insignificant actions can have these unforeseen, long-lasting consequences, or just drift.
It really puts things into perspective, doesn't it? The scale of time and distance.
Absolutely.
And then we have this fascinating biological fact. Starfish, they don't actually have brains.
No brains. How do they function?
Exactly. Instead, they have a decentralized nervous system. How can such a, well, seemingly complex organism function effectively without a central processing unit as we understand it? That just highlights the amazing diversity of biological solutions that have evolved in nature, doesn't it?
Totally a different approach.
Starfish have a nerve ring around their mouth and then radial nerves extending into each arm. That allows them to coordinate movement, sense their environment, even regenerate lost limbs, all without a centralized brain.
Incredible.
And it really challenges our perhaps overly brain-centric view of intelligence, and demonstrates that complex functions can arise from very different organizational structures. Life finds a way, as they say.
Absolutely fascinating. Okay, let's conclude this section with a quick look at today in history. On this day, April 14th, back in 1912,
Oh, I think I know this one.
we commemorate the tragic sinking of the Titanic.
Yes, such a pivotal event.
A pivotal event in maritime history, absolutely,
Yeah.
and serves as such a powerful cautionary tale, doesn't it? About human overconfidence, hubris,
Hmm.
and the forces of nature.
The Titanic disaster really remains a potent symbol. The limitations of even the most advanced technology at the time and the enduring power of the natural world.
And it had lasting impact.
Oh, definitely. It led directly to significant advancements in maritime safety regulations, things like lifeboat requirements, radio watches that continue to shape the industry today, a direct consequence of that tragedy.
Right. And also on this day, but in 1988, the Soviet Union began its withdrawal from Afghanistan.
Ah, another significant event. End of an era.
After a prolonged and ultimately unsuccessful military intervention. A really significant moment in modern history, reflecting the complexities and often unintended consequences of international conflicts.
The Soviet withdrawal from Afghanistan had huge, far-reaching geopolitical consequences.
Like what?
Well, it contributed to the rise of various political and militant groups in the region, destabilized things further in some ways, and
Right.
ultimately reshaped the geopolitical landscape of Central Asia for decades to come. It's a stark example of the long-term impact of foreign intervention.
Yeah, long shadows cast by history. Okay, so bringing it all back to you, the learner. This deep dive into today's headlines, historical snippets, it really reveals a complex, intricate picture of the world right now, doesn't it? Both in Nigeria and globally.
It really does, a tapestry, you might say.
We've seen glimpses of progress, definitely, but alongside really persistent challenges, education, security, the economy.
And the interconnectedness stands out, how one area impacts another.
Absolutely. That interconnectedness demands our attention. And those did you know facts, well, they're just fun, but they also remind us there's always something new, something surprising to discover,
From the vast timescale carried in a bottle.
to the fundamental differences in how life itself can be organized, like the starfish.
Yeah. And reflecting on that Robert Frost quote you mentioned earlier, the best way out is always through.
Yes.
It encourages us maybe to consider how these complex issues we've touched upon today, navigating political tensions, overcoming economic hurdles, addressing security challenges, how they often require direct engagement.
Not avoidance.
Exactly. Sustained effort, perseverance, rather than trying to find a way around them, going through the difficulty.
That's a powerful thought. And this exploration, as always, it's really just the beginning, isn't it?
Just scratching the surface.
What aspects of today's news resonated most with you, the learner? What questions have these headlines sparked in your mind?
Maybe you'll want to delve deeper into the ongoing story of the Chibok girls after all this time.
Or perhaps investigate the intricacies of international trade agreements, especially with those potential shifts on the horizon.
Or maybe just explore more about the fascinating biology of starfish. Why not?
Why not, indeed? The pursuit of knowledge is a continuous journey, right? And we sincerely hope this deep dive has, if nothing else, fueled your curiosity to learn even more.